Wildlife is very important, and a lot of it comes down to just education and understanding why animals do what they do. We're actually living in a collaborative relationship, so they're providing insect control to us. They pollinate our food. We really do need wildlife to be able to survive ourselves.
I love this organization. There's many animals that we get to see on a daily basis, and I think sometimes we forget that we're really lucky to have them in our city. I think we're really lucky in Calgary to have such a wide diversity of species that live right on our doorstep. A lot of people, I think wildlife is something that's separate from us. It's something that lives outside of cities. But I think a lot of people don't realize that there are quite a number of species that actually live in our city. The purpose of our organization is to intake injured and orphaned wild animals, to rehabilitate them, and then put all healthy, vigorous individuals back into the wild. But also we provide educational programs to schools and community groups to teach kids about wildlife so that hopefully they will value wildlife as they get older.
So the animals we see here at Calgary Wildlife Rehabilitation Society is a cross-section of what you normally see in the city. We're kind of in a unique position here being in Calgary. We receive animals from the east, so you've got prairie grassland. You have a little forest happening in Lethbridge, so you're getting a lot of birds and stuff that are coming out of Lethbridge. And then we have the foothills, so we get a pretty diverse cross-section of species here.
Animals come to us generally one of two ways. The first way is that a member of the public comes across an injured or orphaned wild animal. They either will phone us and talk to us about that and find out, is it actually orphaned? Is it actually injured? And if the answer is yes, then we will encourage them to grab that animal and bring it to us.
We've received a great horned owl. It's an adult male that came in last evening. He came in around 6 o'clock last night. He was caught in a barbed wire fence. So the landowner cut him from the fence. When he came to us, he had a barbed wire that was sticking out of his wing. We were able to anesthetize him and trim down that barbed wire. Right now, the vet and the technician are removing a piece of barbed wire from the owl's patagium, part of the top part of the wing. The barbed wire that came in was like 10 inches long. So we just had to cut because I didn't want it to
just
impale
wondering
him.
about this area is to me
Yeah,
the worst.
I know.
And
with
I
the
don't know
skin.
if I have any skin to close. Not really, eh?
Right now he's actually getting a surgical procedure to remove the barb that is actually inside the wing. So he received fluids. We started him on antibiotics. We gave him an anti-inflammatory and a painkiller to deal with the pain. If an animal can't be released to the wild and be able to survive and catch prey, then the most humane option would be to euthanize that animal.
All right, well, let's see if we can put Humpty Dumpty back together again.
Most of the animals that come into our clinic are injured or orphaned due to human activity. So what that can look like, it can look like hit by cars, it can look like window strikes, poisonings, barbed wire. There's lots of different ways that those animals come to us, but we're not interested in interfering with natural cycles. We're here to mitigate the damage that humans are doing to ensure that we're being good stewards so that those animals who weren't supposed to be injured have a better chance of survival.
Now I'm gonna pick him up and just place him over here. So he'll be to the right of his bed. So the bird we were just looking at was an American white pelican. They're migrating through into southern Alberta, and it was found in Brooks, Alberta, underneath a power line. They usually fly in flocks. What we suspect happened, there was a body of water that was close by. So when they're landing on water, they usually circle the body of water to land. And we don't know if there was poor visibility or high winds, but unfortunately the flock made contact with the power lines. The rest of the flock were deceased, and he was the only survivor. They're called the tarsometatarsus, so it's actually part of the foot that joins up into the leg. Were completely crushed. So their bones are a little different than other birds where you would see like a break, a clean fracture across. Their bones are more like a bulrush or a reed, and those bones were crushed. It was the first pelican that we've done surgery on that had injuries this severe. So we contacted the International Bird Rescue Center in California, and they specialize in water birds and specifically pelicans. So we spoke with the veterinarian there that's done lots of surgeries on pelicans and just discussed what the best treatment and surgery would be for this bird. There's a lot of rehabbers that will specialize in different things, so we all reach out to each other to get advice from each other. Wildlife rehabilitation has changed a lot. It's definitely growing and progressing. People are constantly learning in this field. Several centers are collaborating with each other and sharing research, and it's really going towards like vet medicine. Water birds, they're floating, they're buoyant in water. When you have them in captivity, there's a few complications you can run into, and that's getting lesions on the bottom of their feet. That can occur when they're walking on a hard surface or they're out of the water for too long. So we brought in some sand and some rubber mats. We check his feet daily just to make sure that nothing is occurring, and hopefully we'll release in a couple weeks.
This is our first duckling mallard of the season. He was found in a drain pipe. He got stuck, and the mom was able to get one of them out, except he got left, and they tried to get him back to the mom, but the mom wouldn't take him anymore. So they brought him here because the magpies were looking at him like he was a snack.
So this guy was found on a broken beaver lodge by railroad tracks in the city, and he was on top of it crying. So the guy waited an hour for the mom to come back, and she never came back. So most likely the mother didn't make it. Yeah, he's just orphaned, and he's been putting on weight consistently every night, so that's good. And these guys, they're very social, so they need a lot of contact to get them to eat and to feel comfortable. But once he's weaned, it's basically going to be hands off, so he can just learn to be a wild beaver. This time of the year, specifically, we do get a lot of babies, so that is part and parcel why you're seeing a lot of babies at this particular time. There's a lot of babies that get kidnapped, unfortunately, so people see babies that are just sitting around, and the mother is around. She's just avoiding the baby until it's feeding time, and people often see those babies and want to bring them in for care.
This is a white-tailed prairie hare. They are a native species of hare to the province. We get a lot of these guys in. A lot of people think that they're orphaned because they are found alone, which isn't true. They are naturally found alone. Mom leaves them alone all day pretty much. We will take in pretty much every single species, whether they're invasives or not. It's a life that is here that humans a lot of the time are the cause for, them becoming orphans or the injuries that they get. These are absolutely not a good idea to have as pets. They are extremely, extremely high stress animals because they are a prey species. They get something called capture myopathy. So it's basically that they become so stressed out that they basically have a heart attack and just die. In general, rehabs have a notoriously low number of success rates with these guys just because they are so high stress and they just kind of die for no reason.
The industry standard for wildlife rehabilitation is approximately 30%. The center last year, our rehabilitation success rate was like high 40s, low 50s. And that's going to fluctuate from year to year depending on what animals are coming in. It just makes it worthwhile coming to work knowing that I can try to help these animals in any way that I can. Even if that means this animal can't be released to the wild, at least I know that I can help it in some way to at least end its suffering if that's what's needed.
Body condition's not good.
The barbed wire was like 10 inches in, so we just cut.
Is it in the skin?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's nasty. Just don't know if I have any skin to close here.
Just keep the ones that I kind of clean.
Alrighty. Okay, let's look at the other side.
Okay.
Looks reasonably good. I don't know if that's going to hold, but
Well, we'll see.
we will see.
Hold the feet so that if it wakes up, it doesn't kill us. Yeah, I don't know, like maybe like around here. Is his cage ready? Like just the smallest cage he'll fit in. Just have to wait for him to wake up a little bit before you put him in his cage. They just suffocate. This morning we knocked him down for x-rays and he came back within 5 minutes. But sometimes when they've been under for quite a long time, it can take anywhere between 15 and 20 minutes. We just want to make sure that we're kind of stimulating them because if you've ever had surgery, you just want to keep sleeping.
So we just put this pool in today. It's much smaller than the pool that he had prior to this. We had like a large pool that took up most of this room. So because he's being released tomorrow, we've set up a smaller, deeper pool just so I can see how he is going to do in deeper water. So that's good. He's floating really well, and yeah, he'll be good to go tomorrow.
We're about to feed baby eastern gray squirrels. These are the ones that people see most often. They're all of those gray ones, all of those black ones that you see all over the city. These guys were found really cold, kind of frozen, all alone, so we're assuming that they were actually orphaned. So they were taken to a vet clinic and then taken by another facility and then transferred to us. He's pretty finicky about finding it with the eyes closed.
Some animals have adapted very well to urbanization. So an example of an animal that has adapted well is a magpie. We see lots of them in our city. In fact, a lot of people consider them pest species, but in fact they are native species to this area. And I think it's remarkable how resilient they've been in the face of our ongoing urbanization. That's something that we generally find, that people have a dislike of animals that have adapted well to human occupancy, and that we have a real love for the animals that don't adapt well and who are struggling.
We want to come out, once a day, twice a day if we can, and just walk around the enclosure. It's helping to condition those muscles and build up stamina. We just gave him treatment, gave him some cage rest, and then did physio with him for the last 2 months until he's able to fly. And then we live prey test the last couple of weeks just to make sure that he's able to catch prey. And he's doing really well, so he's ready to go. We're just outside of Brooks at Badger Lake, and this is an ideal habitat for pelicans, and this is not far from where he actually was found. There are pelicans actually that live just over on that island there, so this is an ideal spot for releasing them. Because he's an adult owl, most likely he has a mate around. So we want to release them close to the area that they came from so they can go back to that mate.
I love the feeling you get from being able to release an animal that would not have survived, and that because we were able to care for it, is now getting a second chance at life. I think that's a remarkable and beautiful thing.